Chapter 2, Envision Your Future. Many of my meetings with clients might sound like a heart-to-heart talk to someone listening in, and often they are. I am very willing to talk with you about your needs in retirement. I find that some clients have deeply considered their finances and their goals for retirement. But when I discover that you have no plan, I move into action. I book a meeting with you to do what I call clarity-based planning. Clarity-based planning. You have retired. Financially, all your basic needs are covered. Many of you have a bit of extra money during retirement and can spend some of it on things you wish to do. But what is it exactly you wish to spend it on? You now have an extra 40 to 60 waking hours a week on your hands. What do you see yourself doing with them? How do you wish to be spending your time? Time and money. It allows you to consider activities, hobbies, and goals for your retirement years. Let's call it your wish list. For some, a new work or business activity is on their wish list. They can work at part-time and still feel like they have their hand in the game, so to speak. They'll say it keeps them alert and involved in the world. For others of you, it might be about a dream of living in Florida or Costa Rica as a snowbird for 4 months every winter in your own condo that you rent out as an Airbnb for the rest of the year. Can you see treating yourself and a younger grandchild or two to an annual world cruise or 1 month every summer touring Peru or Italy? What would you like to be doing with your copious free time in retirement? That helps you and me as your financial advisor clarify your financial requirements. So while picturing your life as a retiree, let's circle back to the money you will need. Basic needs in retirement. Covering your core needs in retirement is far and away the first consideration in any financial planning. No doubt it needs to start with a roof over your head and being able to eat daily. Needs may also include access to complete medical services and care, a safe and reliable means of transportation, and an adequate wardrobe for our climate. But isn't that about it? The rest are wants. They are all things we wish to have or desire, but could easily live without. To have a clear idea of how much money you will have, not only for those needs, but how much is left over for your wants. I always recommend writing up a cash flow plan. I have put this 3-page form in the resources and references section at the end of this book. This is a combination of budgeting today's expenses and needs and doing some thinking to make sure your future needs are covered. In the process, you see the amount of available cash you have left to pursue some items on your wish list. A cash flow plan will illustrate 2 things that I find most of my clients are not considering. It shows you which of today's expenses you might still have in retirement, along with which expenses will go away, and how much income you have coming in during the retirement after tax is paid. An example of the first expense that will roll over from today into your retirement is your cost for housing and food. However, these might be different from the costs you had raising a family. By your retirement, your kids are likely no longer on your payroll, but out on their own, presumably out of school, earning their own income and living in their own place. That means that as retirees, you can downsize your lodgings. Living in smaller places might mean a lower utility bill and maintenance costs. Kids grown and gone also means you might not be feeding as many family members every day. Retired means you no longer have commuting costs and probably do not need a costly work wardrobe anymore. It is my second point that is revealing to most people. When people don't calculate how much after-tax income they'll have in retirement, they often believe they cannot yet afford to retire. Most working people are so stuck on how much money is withheld or taken out of their gross paycheck that they imagine this will continue into retirement. Not so. Most people just don't know how their tax picture will change when they retire or what that does to their available income. This is why they fear not having enough money to retire. I'll dive into detail in the next chapter, but it will become part of your cash flow plan. Retirement wish list. When you have written up all of your costs of living, the needs you will have to pay for, it is time to go back to your wish list for your retirement years. In other words, what are the wants, desires, activities, and goals that the money you've been accumulating will allow you to satisfy? Add it all to your cash flow plan. By drawing up a needs/wants budget, a cash flow plan, you can see how your financial needs change at retirement. Compare how much you spend on various line items while working against what the amount becomes upon retirement. How does that look? Will you be driving less and saving on bridge or tunnel tolls and gas? Will you be spending less on clothing now that you no longer have to dress a certain way for work? Will you be downsizing your residence, selling your primary residence in favor of a smaller, less costly one now that the children are on their own? I watch my clients' expressions as they realize how their cost of living will change during retirement and often in their favor. This is also when they realize they really do have extra money to devote to their wish list goals. The money they used to spend on commuting, work clothes, and eating out during a workday is no longer required. It can be allocated to their wish list. Grocery and utility bills in the big family house are lower now, and the unspent money can also go to the wish list. Inflation, what you need to know. Inflation is a reality. In a nutshell, it means less purchasing power. One of your dollars buys less than before. We are seeing it in our post-COVID economy. If you are on a fixed monthly income, inflation affects you. Everyday items and services are more expensive. Beware of the banker or the investment advisor who talks with you only about market risk, but never about inflation risk. Inflation is new for many professionals. We have not experienced much of it in the past 10 to 12 years, so professionals have not been schooling themselves about the ramifications of it on fixed incomes during an inflationary period. While none of us has a crystal ball, it is possible to simply assume inflation will eat away at some of your fixed income over your retirement years and take action to mitigate those effects. Make sure you are in the proper investments to lessen the effect of inflation by choosing instruments paying a bit more interest. I can give you some options. Also, remember that we are living longer than our ancestors. Plan on living beyond a century simply because you just might. You never know. In North America, there are tens of thousands of centenarians. Will you be one? Just imagining it usually wakes up my clients to the need to do this longer-term planning around money. Healthcare costs. One important planning aspect for our elder years is a topic people quite studiously avoid thinking about: deteriorating health. My clients usually start our meetings by asking about their income status throughout retirement. I'm often the one to bring up health issues and a financial plan to cover them. What will happen to your health as you age? Like inflation during the remainder of our lifetime, we just don't know. Please do not be squeamish about how your health and your healthcare needs may evolve as you age. Think about your current or family health history. Think about the number of individuals you may have already known who have required long-term care, nursing home, or assisted living facility support. All of that costs money that you can plan for. Talk to me about it. I'll ask you the questions you need to think about. I'll give you the options you need to know about. Real people. Money for as long as you live. A 92-year-old woman, Elaine, came to me. Her banker had never had an inflation discussion with her. Her investments at the bank were earning 0.66%, so 2/3 of 1%. Definitely not enough. No matter how many millions of dollars a person might have, and she did not in an environment of between 15 and 50% inflation of some of her basic costs. Elaine's advisors did not even propose moving her into a high-interest savings account. Certainly, the low returns on her investments were negatively affecting her cash flow story. Recent high inflation had just made it worse. Elaine is a perfect example of how we are simply living longer than our grandparents and ancestors. If your retirement advisor is only running numbers to take you through age 99, like hers was, and you live until age 98, and she just might live longer than that, you will run out of money before you run out of life. Your last 8 years won't be so great financially speaking. You'll have to run the numbers to age 100. I can do that with you. Keep in mind not only your family genetics and historical longevity, but also your chances of living longer than any ancestors simply because of modern medicine, hygiene, and available health care. Real people, the impact of a health crisis. I've known my clients, Jonathan and Suzette, for many years. They had fully paid off their house and had over $1 million in their nest egg by a fairly young age. Jonathan was the funniest storyteller and the most enjoyable person to be with. I have fond memories of New Year's Eve with him, Suzette, and other friends. John was 61 or 62 when he began to experience a health issue none of us would wish on anyone we love, Alzheimer's. He could no longer formulate an understandable sentence. He couldn't make a sandwich for himself. This put Suzette into an unexpected caregiver situation. She will arrive at a point where she knows she cannot care for him 24/7 anymore, and Jonathan will need to go to a long-term care facility. This type of health deterioration can put a monkey wrench in your retirement cash flow plan. Think about chronic or lifelong illnesses such as Alzheimer's or lingering cancer. Private nursing care homes start at about $4,000 per month and are more often at the $6,000 per month price point. What happens to your nest egg with that new cost eating away at it? While public homes are affordable, will that suit your needs? A health issue is most dreaded in your elderly years simply because you have stopped earning money. At a younger age, you could certainly go back out and earn new money to pay the bills such events left you with. But in retirement, it could derail your cash flow beyond recognition. This is the very reason you should have a healthcare solution within your retirement cash flow plan as soon as you can implement it. Real people. How much is that side hustle costing you? I spoke with a lady, Rachel, this past year who is still working in a full-time salary position. She put in some of her own money to start a side business offering counseling, for which she charged $140 per hour. Rachel thought the side business looked promising revenue-wise. Knowing she had only been a salaried employee up to that point, I asked her if she was setting aside about 1/3 of her gross counseling earnings for tax. She had not thought about that. At tax time, she would have been in for a rude awakening if she had not put any money aside for the tax levy. As a salary earner, the withholdings had been done automatically. I also told Rachel to keep careful records of her counseling-related expenses, which would be tax deductions. I gave her a couple of easy ways to track her money. She was thankful I mentioned it to her so soon in her business as a counselor. I suggest you also consult a professional like me about the tax picture you might be facing with a side gig or retirement business. Another client of mine, Marissa, had 4 side hustles and wasn't making money on any of them. When her retirement comes along, she'll perhaps still be forking out hundreds a month to keep them afloat. Why? I cannot make decisions for my clients, only give advice. I hope Marissa lets go of the money losers. Ask yourself, if you are cut out for work involved in a new business activity and if you can do it profitably. Don't lose your retirement nest egg by doing some business activity you would never have risked at the age of 30 or 40. Some people are encouraged by all the new free time they will possess in retirement to do an income-producing hobby or side gig, and that is fine. Just make sure it's not jeopardizing your tax bill, your total income, or your government benefits. Real people. Understand cash flow and budgeting. A married couple, James and Louise, consulted me. Both were eligible for pension. They couldn't seem to get ahead financially. They never seemed to have enough disposable income to set aside as savings. Frankly, they were somewhat baffled as to why not. They both earned substantial incomes. To their credit, they kept a written budget, so I helped them examine their budget, one line item at a time. We were basically embarking on some detective work. We analyzed the budget numbers one by one in relation to their bank statements. Like so many of us, nearly 100% of the spending James and Louise did was by a debit or credit card, so it was a straightforward exercise. According to the budget sheet they kept, they were spending $200 per month eating out, which for them included restaurants, drive-thrus, to-go coffee every midday, and takeout or delivery in the evenings. All that was along with their regular grocery shopping for home-cooked meals. By examining this budget line item in relation to their bank statements, they saw the eating out budget was up to as much as $1,500 per month. James was shocked. Louise was baffled. Even though their additional grocery budget was right in line with what they had stated, their lack of disposable cash income for saving was all about them eating out and spending loads more than either imagined. Look at your out-of-pocket expenses. Debit and credit cards are the way we spend these days, so you need a way to track your expenses. Remember, merchants are starting to charge you up to 2.4% more, which is presumably a portion of the bank fee that they must charge for credit card processing. More and more, tips are expected to be greater than 15% of your bill, and paying only 15% is often considered rude. There was good news for this case. These clients were younger and could make a new lifestyle choice. They could start saving to catch up dramatically in their retirement cash flow. We had quite a long chat in my office about what kind of changes that would entail. I was sure the conversation would continue when they got back home and for the days and weeks to come. What do I say? I know from personal experience that changing any long-term habits take real effort. Real people, are you ready to retire? I had a married couple, Frank and Terry, come in. They thought they wanted to retire in a couple of years and wanted to talk about retirement funding and get some of their questions answered. Their combined disposable income, The excess cash they had after paying their bills and taxes every month came to $4,500 per month. Many people would like to be in that situation, right? So why did Frank and Terry want to work for another couple of years? I asked them that question. To demonstrate to them how ridiculous it would be for them to continue working for another 2 years, I wrote $200 on 2 separate sticky notes. I passed one over the table to Frank and the other to Terry. I dramatized a bit. Put this on your dashboard, and when wintertime hits us hard and you're out there at 6:15 in the morning in the cold, windy darkness, scraping the ice off your windshield to get to work, look at this sticky note. It will remind you that you're out there in the freezing weather at the crack of dawn for a mere $200 more a month. That's all they would have gained by continuing to work. Frank said something unprintable. Terry got a big smile on her face. They got it. If it's not clear to you, their income when working was only $200 more than their total retirement income would be if they retired immediately. Said in yet another way, why go to work for $5,000 per month when you can immediately retire with $4,800 per month? Like most people, neither Frank nor Terry knew how to do this calculation, which is why I'm in business, so I did a mock tax return for them. After taxes, union dues, and other expenses taken off a salary, they are left earning only $200 more per month than they would have if they were retired. Why earn only $200 per month more by continuing to work? I find myself asking many clients this question. I urge them both to retire at the earliest eligible age.